Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian, and I'm here at CBT Nuggets headquarters. I'm a member of the sales team. I'd like to thank you all for setting some time aside today to sit with us, and, of course, Anthony to go over storage. So without further ado, I'm going to let Anthony have it. Thank you all.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for kicking us off today. Yeah, my name is Anthony Sequeira. I am one of the many full-time instructors here at CBT Nuggets, and it's my pleasure to bring this webinar to you today entitled IT Storage, the Missing Link. Why the missing link? Why did we title it that way? Well, it sure seems like a lot of training organizations offer zero training in the disciplines of storage, and there isn't necessarily all that much discussion about storage around the water cooler, although that's starting to change, and we'll talk about why as we go through this presentation and how CBT Nuggets is going to address issues like a lack of training materials in storage head on. I'd like to welcome Adrian and Christopher and Daniel and Derek and Dustin and John and Jonas and all the many people that are joining us here live in this webinar today. And, of course, big shout out to everybody, the thousands and thousands that will view this in a recorded fashion because they could not be here for the actual live event. Let's kick it off, though, with the number one question that may be on your mind. Okay, Anthony, why in the world would I study storage? I mean, after all, I've got enough to study. I'm taking VMware classes with Keith Barker. I'm learning about F5 load balances with Scott Morris. I'm taking Jeremy Char's new CCNP route class. I've got bigger fish to fry than study storage. Well, look, I'm not going to try and twist anyone's arm today. I am not selling you storage technologies like steak knives. But what I am saying to you is that this is a hugely important major area of information technology. Look, I always like to break information technology down into three major segments. I consider there to be compute stuff. And of course, you can turn to CBT Nuggets for the very greatest training in things like Windows 8 on the desktop and Windows Server 2012 running the server operating system, or Ubuntu on the desktop and some variant of a Linux server on your systems. All of those kind of client and server operating systems and everything that goes along with them falls into the area of compute. And then there's the plumbing that's going to help tie it all together. And this is training from us on companies like Cisco and Juniper that really build this infrastructure that connects everything. And now, of course, our third area of IT that's so critically important, and that is storage. How is all of this information stored in our networks today? And I'll tell you, this is a bigger issue than ever because more and more people on this planet are assuming now that they are going to have adequate storage for their stuff. So you got more and more people that are saying, you know what, I need to store my stuff digitally, electronically. One kind of silly little example, but it's worth mention, is music, right? For the longest time, we had shelves and shelves and shelves of CDs, compact discs. We'd had the jewel cases, and we'd get cool ways to arrange those in our home. Nowadays, those are being pitched in the trash after we rip them to MP3s. So we have our music collection now, and we look to store it either in our home with direct attached storage. In fact, that's one of our buzzwords in this field. Or we have a nice network attached storage device in our home. Or maybe we are interested in building a storage area network because we're going to store our music and all of the music for our friends in a very sophisticated storage area network type infrastructure. So more and more, we are looking to store stuff digitally, and the amounts of storage that we want are big. Another simple analogy here is just think about photography. For years, I would be responsible for taking the pictures that my wife would shoot on a, fancy camera and storing that. Now it's quadrupled because she's shooting with her fancy camera, she's shooting with her iPhone, she's shooting with her smartwatch, she's shooting, more and more photography is pervasive on these devices. It adds to more and more storage. Something else that pops up as storage becomes more important to us, of course, is security of that information. So as we discuss storage, we start thinking about parallel technologies like what is hot in the area of storage security. One of the reasons you might be interested in studying all of this is to get a better job. By better job, we often mean a job that is much more specialized. And we could specialize in storage, but just think about it. We could even specialize further in storage security or storage virtualization, some of the hottest topics in the IT landscape today. This leads to a better job. Now, better job for a lot of people, it's kind of unfortunate, that comes down to, here in the United States, dollars. So when I say get a better job, they immediately say, okay, well, wait a minute, Anthony, what does that mean to me in terms of dollars? Well, looking at starting salaries in the storage space, I discovered most results were 80 to 120K. Yeah, 80 to 120K. So, my goodness, these are jobs that are high paying. And you might say, a starting salary of 120K? What is that person doing? Well, that particular salary range that I was looking at was doing storage and storage security in the medical field. Wow, imagine how absolutely critical that particular area of IT is. Now, maybe you're interested in studying storage because your data center is unifying. Now, unified storage is something that I'm going to actually elaborate on in this presentation for you. I wanted to give you some really meat, some technological meat, because I know when you come to these webinars, you want to take away some actual technology education. So I'm going to elaborate on unifying your data center. But for right now, let me just tell you that we are talking about merging the LAN and the SAN when we unify our network infrastructure. Maybe one of the reasons you want to study storage at CBT Nuggets is because, you just really like to round out your resume. Yeah, you just really like to beef up that resume. I'll give you a perfect example. On my playlist here at CBT Nuggets is Scott Morris's Juniper training. Now, do I consult for Juniper-based networks? Do I own a Juniper-based network? The answer in both cases is absolutely no. I consult for Cisco networks. I own Cisco networks. But I absolutely plan on taking those Juniper classes so that I can just really round out my skill set. It's nice to know about those competing technologies, see what they're doing, see what their approaches are. It just makes my resume, it makes my overall experience, my overall value that much richer. And then maybe you're just curious, and that's absolutely fine too. Maybe you're just like, gosh, I spend my day in the compute area of networking, or I spend my day in the infrastructure area, I really want to know what challenges the storage guys and girls face and what kind of technologies that they're working with. Yeah, if curiosity is your thing, no problem. Absolutely, CBT Nuggets makes it convenient to satisfy that curiosity in the remarkably efficient way in which we deliver training. Now, another question that you may have is, okay, like, who are the big players here? I mean, we just said that in the network infrastructure area, it's obviously going to be Juniper and Cisco that are those massive players. But what's the landscape like in the storage arena? Well, EMC has always dominated. I shouldn't say always. It was once dominated by IBM, but as of the last, let's say decade, EMC has absolutely dominated this landscape. IBM just continues to slip and slip and slip down the list when it comes to storage. By the way, for companies like IBM on this list and HP and EMC, they do a lot of different stuff. So this list is stack ranked based on, as best I could, revenue numbers for storage. If you look at HP, they do compute, they do infrastructure, and they do storage. I broke out their storage revenue numbers to make this list. But you can see names that we've known for a real long time, like Western Digital, Seagate, Micron, NetApp, SanDisk, IBM, HDS over in Japan, Symantec. These names lead this particular industry. They create technologies that are extremely exciting, and these are indeed the vendors that we will be covering here at CBT Nuggets. But before you get too excited, like before you go, oh, okay, wait a minute, HP, great, I'm going to just become an HP certified expert, I'm going to become a pro at their technologies. Wait a minute. Let's get a sense for where it would be better to start. And an absolutely ideal starting place for you to consider is, and I really need a drum roll sound effect, it would be CompTIA's Storage Plus, a course that I just finished here at CBT Nuggets not too long ago, a course that is 37 nuggets large, and that is really unparalleled as far as a Storage Plus online course goes. How can I make that statement? Because I looked closely at all of the other courses. That's right. I went and looked at everything that was available out there for training in Storage Plus online, and I set out to create a much superior course. Couple of ways that I did that. Number one, again, we see the incredible number of nuggets that make up this course. I wanted to make sure that I left no stone unturned as far as the CompTIA blueprint goes. So from tape, older technology, to virtualization in storage, a newer concept, I made sure I covered it. Something else that I quickly identified with the competing classes were that they offered really no hands-on. And so I went in and said, okay, for a lot of these topics that students are absolutely going to want to see right before their eyes, I added hands-on nuggets to really build out the overall effectiveness of this particular course. Now, why is this such a great starting point? Well, because, again, no stone is left unturned. I mean, we go in and we take apart a mechanical disk drive and discuss exactly how that works, and then we go into such complex topics as the storage area network and fiber channel. So fiber channel and all these important storage concepts are covered. And of course, CompTIA gives us the ability to do something very important, especially when you're just starting out in a discipline, and that is, it is vendor neutral. It does not focus, this course does not focus on any one particular vendor technology. In fact, what you'll hear me do a lot in this course is say things like, this is how Cisco does it, this is how HP does it, this is how EMC does it, etc. So we will bring up vendors to give specific examples, but it is very much a vendor neutral. Now, once we master CompTIA Storage Plus, and by the way, thanks to the beautiful people at CompTIA, there is indeed an exam we can go out and succeed with following my course, so that now our resume really is enriched and we can show, hey, look, I understand the fundamentals of today's IT storage infrastructure. Now we can start to specialize. And specializing is what you're going to be able to do thanks to the upcoming courses from CBT Nuggets. What do you think we're going to do? Well, of course, we're going to now look at the biggest players. And we're going to start with NetApp. We have had tremendous demand for NetApp training. Why? Well, because there's not a lot of great NetApp training out there. I might even say there's none of it as far as really great training. And NetApp does indeed have a certification program. So we can create training that maps to NetApp certification. So again, students can really see how this vendor approaches storage. They can master those approaches. They can get certified in that area. And then we'll continue to bounce around in this list of big players when it comes to actual, really specialized storage IT technologies. By the way, a lot of you are immediately thinking, oh my gosh, NetApp, I can't wait. When does it start? It starts this month. And if you're watching this in a recorded version, let me point out that by this month, I mean November 2014. Yes, indeed, the NetApp training here at CBT Nuggets will indeed start this month. So that is super exciting, obviously. But now it's time for us to get technical a little bit here. Let's grab a couple of takeaways from this particular webinar from a technological standpoint. And earlier I mentioned that a lot of networks these days are unifying. And that may indeed be a reason why you have found yourself compelled to study storage. Unifying means that we're really trying to consolidate equipment and technologies. In fact, to do this and explain it, I really need a whiteboard. So let me grab a whiteboard here, and I've got a green pen. That's terrific. So what I'm going to do with this green pen is I'm going to draw a Nexus switch. The example that I'm going to do with you right now is from a Cisco world. Okay, so we'll just pick Cisco since they're one of the big vendors. And in Cisco, we have these NXOS devices, and these are our LAN devices for the data center. So sure enough, they are running what? They're running Ethernet. Now, the Ethernet traffic comes down, and it actually can hit a device that Cisco manufactures called a fabric interconnect. And then the Ethernet traffic comes down and it hits a, let's say, Blade server. This is a B series server from Cisco Systems. Okay, so we need, shown in green, we need a network interface card in order to communicate with all that stuff on the green side of the house, on the LAN side of the house. Now, we have this B series server that needs to access the stuff in our storage area network, our SAN. The red is the host bus adapter in the B series. And this speaks fiber channel. And that goes up and it hits a fabric interconnect that can also speak fiber channel, thank goodness. And then this goes up and it hits a MDS device. The MDS device from Cisco, again, is a fiber channel speaking device for the storage area network. And notice how there's this real partitioning of things, right? We've got the fiber channel side of the house, the Ethernet side of the house, the LAN and SAN. It reminds me of like in Ghostbusters, dogs and cats living together. Yes, that's what we're going to have in the unified network. You see, there is a technology, and that technology is called fiber channel over Ethernet. You got it. The ability to take this fiber channel traffic and carry it over the Ethernet technology of the LAN. So you know what we start to do? Yeah, you guessed it. We eliminate the NIC that's inside the B series server. We eliminate the host bus adapter that's inside the B series device, and we go with a single device called a converged network adapter, or CNA. This particular device can speak fiber channel over Ethernet. And now we are able to run a single technology, fiber channel over Ethernet, and send traffic to all of these devices. We don't need all this separate cabling, right? We no longer need pure fiber channel physical cabling, pure Ethernet physical cabling. We utilize a 10 gigabit per second Ethernet connection in order to carry both the LAN and the SAN traffic, thanks to this miraculous fiber channel over Ethernet. When we unify traffic, we are making things so much more administratively, simple. We are making things so much less expensive. We start getting all kinds of great economies of scale. And again, maybe your network infrastructure is starting to unify. Maybe this is a reason why you are being pushed towards the mastery of storage. Another potential is that your organization is really starting to get excited by this concept of hybrid cloud. As a matter of fact, a recent study polled companies out there and discovered that 58% of those companies that were polled from all different types of industries, 58% were indeed either currently engaged in hybrid cloud or moving to a hybrid cloud infrastructure. The hybrid cloud, remember, refers to storing some stuff locally in your own data center, but then relying on cloud for storage of other mechanisms. So you're not completely taking all of your own data center equipment and selling it off and relying on the cloud 100%, but you are indeed pushing some of your storage needs to the cloud. This is exactly what I do. If you look at my rather intense home network, you'll see that I have an internal NAS set up, and that's my internal private cloud, and then I'm using Dropbox services for true public cloud, if you will, and so I have a hybrid cloud setup. A portion of the cloud I own internally and privately, and then cloud services that I am relying on from another vendor. So the hybrid cloud and the movement to hybrid cloud infrastructures is another reason why so many are interested in storage. They want to be able to maintain the internal cloud infrastructure. At the same time, they want to be able to understand how their information is being stored in the public cloud, and they want to be able to master concepts like virtualization and security, when it comes to both the internal stuff and the external stuff. By the way, maybe one of you viewing this course works for a company that is a public cloud company. So certainly, as you are storing the gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of data for clients all over the world, the latest in storage technologies is indeed something that you would want to know about. Well, we wanted to wrap up this particular webinar by taking your questions, and that's always awesome for us to do. While we take your questions, I just wanted to, I often get this question in the webinar, Anthony, how can we contact you? So I wanted to leave this slide up so you can jot this down. As you can see, pretty prolific when it comes to social stuff. I've got my own blog. I would love to answer your questions at my blog. You can go up there and post on any of the storage-based topics that you see. I am on Facebook, as well as Twitter, as well as LinkedIn, and finally, Google+. By the way, one more that I would add to this is SpiceWorld. SpiceWorks. What is it called? Let's see. I think SpiceWorks, right? Someone chat in if that's the name. I just joined, and I think SpiceWorld is a reference to their conference. So I think it's SpiceWorks, and that's a really cool place where IT people can help other IT people. So I have been posting up there. Christopher says Spice Girls. No, it is definitely not Spice Girls that I signed up for. SpiceWorks is indeed the community name. Thank you, Lee. Yep. Like I said, I'm a newbie to it. I just signed up, just made my first post like last week. So, yeah, thanks. All right, so we've got some great questions. Great questions in the queue. First of all, Christopher asks, do you think Cloud Plus goes hand in hand with storage? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And that's another thing that I absolutely love about CBT Nuggets. You know what's on my playlist, and I'm currently watching them? It's Jeremy Chara's AWS course. Why am I watching Amazon Web Services? Because I want to know how a cloud is actually implemented. And I want to see the exact possibilities for us in Amazon Web Services Cloud. So yes, they go hand in hand. By the way, who are the big players in the cloud? In fact, when those 58% of companies said they're moving to a hybrid cloud, what did they say they were moving to? The overwhelming majority said Amazon, AWS. In second place was Google's cloud services, and in third place was Microsoft's Azure services. We will have training on all of these technologies at CBT Nuggets, of course, because of the huge trend that this is in IT. Here's a question. I understand that CompTIA is vendor neutral, but I have to ask this question. So if I want to start digging into virtualization and cloud, is it better to start with CompTIA or with like VMware's VCP5 DCV? I would really emphasize starting vendor neutral. I really, really would. And here's why. A lot of the courses that you hit that are vendor specific, like the fantastic VCP5 courses, those assume the vendor neutral foundational education. They assume it. So a lot of us feel very, very lost in those classes if we don't have it. They're not going to take the time to stop and explain like what a LUN is to you. They assume you absolutely know what a LUN is. They're not going to take the time to explain how fiber channel functions. They're going to assume you know it. So I always, would encourage you to look at the CompTIA first. Keep in mind, as you look at our CompTIA Storage Plus class and you're like, look, Anthony, I know how a darn hard drive works. Thanks a lot. I don't, need to review how a hard disk drive works. Well, obviously, skip that nugget. No hard feelings. Of those 37 nuggets, watch those nuggets where you have weaknesses. And then go take the certification if certification is your thing. Question here about the FlexPod VCE vBlock infrastructure. Yep, that is on our build list. Absolutely. And by the way, it's one of the reasons why we are always hiring trainers at CBT Nuggets. Always. So if you're listening to this and you're a top-notch trainer, please contact us. Or if you know top-notch trainers, have them contact us because, man, oh man, this area of IT is exploding and we want top-notch trainers to deliver it to all of you. Well, we are always conscious of your time here at CBT Nuggets. That's why our training is so efficient. This webinar falls in that umbrella of training. So it is the bottom half of the hour here. We are going to wrap up this particular webinar right now. I look forward to communicating with you soon on my social media channels that you see in front of you right now. I cannot wait to virtually meet you in Storage Plus or NetApp courses or EMC courses here at CBT Nuggets very, very soon. As always, I sure hope you found this webinar informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.